Guess what, golfers? Vegas isn't just casinos and pool parties. In fact, there are 50 golf courses within a 15-mile radius of the Strip, all boasting beautiful desert oasis landscapes. So, if you're looking for a break from the action, consider hitting the links. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Donnie, the season is 6 months. 5 if you check out in September. You're gonna have a bad month. The Yankees had a horrible month, that is true. But beyond that, their regular season looks okay. They're gonna win their 90 games or maybe a little bit more and get to the postseason. What is everybody freaking out about?
Everybody freaks out. It's a Yankee tax and a Yankee fan tax as well, where every single season you enter into the equation going like, it's championship or bust.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Remember these names: AZ Fudd, Olivia Miles, Lauren Betts. Depending on who wins that lottery, that's going to depend on who goes what. If Washington wins, it's Fudd. She's from the area. If Dallas wins, they're going to bring Fudd to play with, obviously, Paige. If Minnesota wins, I think they go Miles with the point. If Seattle wins, they go with Miles, and the same thing with Chicago.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
College football can't allow Notre Dame to have the type of, year they have and schedule they have, and honestly put them up against other teams. Because Notre Dame looks like they're going to be a decent football team. They could lose, I think, next week to Texas A&M, Joe, who I don't think is a great football team, but still a ranked team, and then run the table and still be in the playoff and absolutely beat nobody. The worst schedule they've ever seen in college football is Notre Dame this year.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
You know the deal. It's time to rise and grind. We mean business on the Sports Grid Network. This is the early line. I'm Donnie Rightside. He is Joe Ranieri. And over the next 2 hours, we got you covered. Trust me, it's a football Friday. NCAA action, check. NFL action, check. Major League Baseball, you know we have time for that in this show, of course. I love Fridays. The script is easy to follow, Joe, because why? The excitement is here. We built this up, Joe, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, hump day, Thursday into Friday, and we have an awesome weekend scheduled here that it's our job to get you ready for. And I know, Joe, you are going to do the best possible job you can to get these people involved in the games they need to be involved in.
Listen, knowledge is power, Donnie, right? The more knowledge you have about these 900 different games that we are going to have across a million different sports over the next 6 months, it pays to be here with us on the early line in the Sports Grid Network.
It actually does, and it pays. Last night, if you listen to Joe Ranieri on his take on the Green Bay Packers, you cashed in a ticket. So let's get to the 7-7 and the hottest topics across the sports landscape from last night. The Green Bay Packers. This just in. They're a pretty good football team. They got offense. They got a running back. They got a million wideouts. They got a quarterback. They got a coach. They got a home field. We can go on and on. 27-18. And my goodness, Joe, it felt like it wasn't even that close of a game for what that final score indicated. The Packers look like they mean business in 2025.
And it feels like vintage Packers offense, right? Racked up 404 yards. So whether it be, the Brett Favre days or the Aaron Rodgers days, and now the Jordan Love days, the thing that Green Bay has always been known for is offense, Donnie. But wait a minute. They held Washington to just 230 yards in the game? Interesting. So now they've got a defense as well. And just like that, the Detroit, Minnesota, Chicago's like, oh, boy, we may be in trouble.
Home teams win on Thursday Night Football. That's what they do. It is a major, major advantage. But Joe brings up a good point that we're going to expound on in the next segment. The Washington offense looked pedestrian, not because they're not a good offense and they don't have a good quarterback. That Green Bay defense is really good and legit at all levels here. Some fun to watch, and they will be a problem in the NFC. Let's keep it moving down the list. Austin Eckler. This guy's been doing it for a long time in the NFL. One of the best third down running backs you can have, and primarily the primary running back in Washington. At that age, a torn Achilles, it's probably a wrap on Austin Eckler's career and a tough blow early in the season for the Commanders.
No, just tough altogether. I mean, it was, they also lost one of the defensive ends that they brought in the offseason, Dedrick Wise Jr. He went out of that game. It was a costly loss in more ways than one. And both those guys, like you said, in their 30s too, Donnie, and poor Austin Eckler, man. You just knew it when they carted him off the field. You could see it in his face. He just knew that was all she wrote. And by the way, right, no Brian Robinson anymore, right? Because you didn't need him. You traded him away, didn't you?
Looks like he might be going back to. Don't worry, there's a guy named Bill in the backfield that'll save you. Yeah, what do you have? 15 yards yesterday on the ground.
Yeah.
Tough scene. And by the way, again, that Green Bay defense, they were built yesterday. Now, the one good thing about the Packers is if you do suffer injuries, suffer them at a position where you have, 15 different guys that seem interchangeable. But yesterday, Jaden Reed got hurt yesterday on a play that actually didn't count with a penalty, which would have been a touchdown, a broken collarbone, probably down 6 to 8 weeks here. But good news on the horizon for the Packers. Looks like Watson is going to be back sooner than later, and then they can move forward. But tough scene here. Game number 2, he's already down.
Yeah, collarbone. I mean, it was tough, too. You could see the play in the corner of the end zone. It was like, oh, that looks like it's going to hurt. But like you had said, they are flush with some talent there. On the outside, but just not good. Now, it doesn't mean it's a season-ending thing. They hope that maybe they might be able to get him back at some point, which is good news for the Green Bay Packers.
No, it certainly is. Like, hey, look, if you're going to get injured, as we like to say, or in college football, if you want to lose a game, do it early in the season so you can come back and still have a playoff run at this point. This next story I want to talk about, this is going to be a microcosm of the NBA and why it's not a reality that we can actually live in as the common individuals. Kawhi Leonard, and I guess we have to say allegedly, it's clear with Pablo Torre's reporting here that it's deviousness for the Los Angeles Clippers. They are paying Kawhi Leonard through shell companies here and got caught red-handed. But the fact of the matter is here, the NBA is going to circle their wagons. What's going to happen in the scenario where you look at Kawhi Leonard saying, I'm unhappy, I need more money here. All right, let's have this shell company, tree company / bank that's going to basically go bankrupt. My payment is late. Let me come up with another $2 million. Give it to that company that's really defunct so you can get your money here. Where there's smoke, there's an inferno. And I want to see how this plays out in Los Angeles.
It's just, whatever it is, Donnie, I guarantee you it will not lead back to Steve Ballmer. This is the kind of stuff that goes on in all sorts of big-time billion-dollar industries, Donnie, that we never know about. Talk about unrelatable. My goodness, there will not be a paper trail, and there will be a fall guy. I can assure you of that when all of this is said and done.
Put it this way, when there's these billionaire on top of billionaire owners like Steve Ballmer, I'm sure he's probably had lawsuit after lawsuit over the years that you don't hear about. Yes. Why? Because their lawyers handle that. That's frivolous. I don't even have to bring that up. But when you are an owner and you're caught red-handed, you don't take your private jet to Bristol, Connecticut and have a one-on-one Sports Center sit-down to explain your end of the story. You laugh at this and say, my lawyers are going to handle this. I got bigger things to deal with from the other companies here. This is a huge deal. And it's apparent where if you're just looking at the tea leaves here, right, and saying, okay, well, guys have contracts all the time and they do other things. But when you were asking for this information in Toronto and didn't get it, and somehow you appeared in Los Angeles and weird companies, let's say, are paying you money and you're upset that they're paying late and other owners are paying into this fund so you can get paid, come on now, let's see that crackdown. But again, we probably won't see anything here. Here's the good part about legalized gambling. The next story. The NCAA, 13 players from 6 schools involved in gambling schemes. On the surface, most, hey, you can't have gambling. No, this is why you have legalized gambling, because you uncover these stories through betting trends that are now tracked legally, and you can find the players who are doing the wrong things. This is why we always needed legalized gambling, Joe. I love this story because legalized gambling is working because we have the fail-safes to catch the players doing the wrong things.
Yeah, college basketball players from 6 schools. Let me give you a handful of those schools. North Carolina A&T, New Orleans, the powerhouse Mississippi Valley State, who to this date has never played a college basketball game where they weren't getting 60 points. Eastern Michigan also in there. Temple, which has always been a dumpster fire, and Arizona State. So, we're talking about schools that are filled with athletes that, probably aren't making the same kind of NIL money that they're making at Kansas and Duke. But B, the idea that illegal books and gambling on college campuses has not been going on, I can assure you from personal experience, it's been happening for a long, long time. This is nothing new, Donnie.
No, it's not. You know what else isn't new? Aaron Judge hitting 2 home runs, hit 2 more yesterday, ties Joe DiMaggio for 4th in Yankees history. We got some history last night.
That's crazy. I mean, maybe the president show up every game, and this way they can actually score some runs and play from in front, so we don't have to worry about that bullpen of the Yankees. But good win for the Yankees, and again, history. Anytime you're talking about history with DiMaggio, Donnie, it's pretty impressive.
I thought they would hit. How about Harry Ford? Is that Henry Ford's great-great-great-great-grandson getting walk-off hits there, walk-off sacrifice flies in Seattle? By the way, Seattle scoring runs. Don't look now, Joe Ranieri, at the standings in the AL West, because it states Mariners, Astros in a tie.
Yeah, it's going to get good the final couple of weeks of the regular season, isn't it, Donnie? Texas is still there. Houston, Seattle, a fight to the finish should be great. It's exactly what Rob Manfred and Major League Baseball wanted.
Exactly. And also wanted the Mets to stay close to the Philadelphia Phillies, but that apparently ain't happening in a 4-game sweep. We're going to get to that and much more a little bit later in the show. But the focus right now, Joe, it is a football Friday. And we're going to look at that football game from last night and let you know how good Green Bay actually looks this early in the season. They're a problem in 2025. We'll be right back.
New to social casinos? You're in for a treat. Most online casinos offer bonus cash or coins just for signing up. That's your own little participation trophy. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Remember these names: AZ Fudd, Olivia Miles, Lauren Betts. Depending on who wins that lottery, that's going to depend on who goes what. If Washington wins, it's Fudd. She's from the area. If Dallas wins, they're going to bring Fudd to play with, obviously, Paige. If Minnesota wins, I think they go Miles with the point. If Seattle wins, they go with Miles, and the same thing with Chicago.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
If a game is on the line,
give me the Navy kicker.
Oh,
the guy's going into battle in 2 weeks. He can't make an extra point. Come on.
From a mindset perspective, I'm not. Listen, we thank them for their service. I love them. Okay.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, if you have a bet and you have an academy kicker with a field goal or an extra point, you got to hold your breath.
27 yards.
27 yards. The kid shanked it from like 30.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Joe Ranieri, Donnie Rightside, Football Friday, SportsGrid Network, TEL. Ooh, it just sounds like a match made in heaven. But in order, Joe, to have a Football Friday, you must have a Football Thursday game to recap. And we had one last night. The 1-0 Washington Commanders, the 1-0 Green Bay Packers. We talked about this yesterday. The winner of this football game is going to get a leg up in the NFC. They don't play 2 times. They're not in the same division. They're just in the same conference. Advantage Green Bay Packers. They were home last night. They took care of business, 27-18 over the Washington Commanders. At the half, Joe, it was 14-3. After 3 quarters, it was 17-3. This is a potent offense for the Commanders that was completely choked out by that Green Bay Packers defense. Pass rush, phenomenal. Linebacking play, great. Defenders on the back end, fantastic. The score, 27-18, not indicative of how dominant the Green Bay Packers were last night.
Yeah, and we talked about it earlier, Donnie. Both teams ended up losing key guys in the first half as well, but it obviously didn't affect the Packers as much as it might have affected the Commanders. I mean, Jaden Daniels at the half, Donnie, I looked at the number, 49 passing yards at the break. 49. I ended up with over 200, but it was simply because they were playing from behind the entire time in the second half. But they got nothing going. He was under duress the entire night. They had a spy on him. They had one of the linebackers spying on him. He couldn't get out. He couldn't do anything. He had no time to throw. He couldn't get the ball deep. They couldn't go over the top of anybody. It was just a dominating performance by that Green Bay defense. And again, I mean, who better than LaFleur? And we talked about it last week. This team looked like they had already played a month worth of regular season football in game one against Detroit. And on a short week, they looked even better than they did against Detroit offensively. Kind of crazy, Donnie, but Green Bay, just like that. We'll see what they do on the road, but this is going to get interesting here, I think, in the NFC North.
Pass rushing coming in waves here. Thank you to Micah Parsons, who's basically a part-time player right now until he gets completely healthy, but he was wreaking havoc yesterday. 4 sacks for 21 yards there for Washington on Jaden Daniels. But also understand this. Coming into this game, I usually like to say, like on the Thursday night, home team or no team. But early in the season, like, you know what? I like what I saw out of Washington. I don't know if they can win the game, but I do think it's going to be close. I'll take the 3.5 points, maybe a one-possession game in the fourth quarter, and we'll see what happens. Now, granted, even in that last drive, hey, maybe they drive down the field, score a junk touchdown, and get inside that number. They didn't. Like, Green Bay was the better team. But the one thing I noticed right away is I did like a prop bet on Jaden Daniels over between 44.5 and 46.5 rushing yards, depending on where you got it yesterday. Because I'm saying to myself, Joe, if that pass rush gets home, which it did, there's going to be lanes to run. I'm telling you right now, Jaden Daniels is as fast as you get on a football field, and he had no room even, Joe, when he broke containment to do any damage on the outside. That was the most shocking thing. Like, we're not just talking about a pass rush that was, let's just get after the quarterback, and if we leave lanes and he's Michael Vick and runs for 100 yards in that game, so be it. They had everything protected. And also, from a rushing perspective as a team for the Commanders, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, 4 carries, 17 yards. Austin Eckler, before the injury, 8 carries, 17 yards. Jaden Daniels, 7 carries, 17 yards. When you go on the road to hostile environments, you need a ground game to take the ease off of the air game. You didn't get that. Again, I can't say enough, Joe, about that Packers defense.
The offensive line of Washington was in trouble from the get-go. It looked like the Green Bay front on the defensive side was bigger, stronger, faster. They were blowing by them. I mean, they were literally pushing the offensive lineman 2 yards back into Daniels. It felt like on every play. And to make matters worse, Donnie, I mean, where was McLaurin? Where was Debo? None of the receivers could get away from any of the defensive backs. I mean, none. They were blanketed the whole night. So kudos. Now, the question is, are the Commanders maybe worse than we thought, or is Green Bay a heck of a lot better than what maybe we thought they would be this year?
Yeah, I think you're the second part of that, Joe. I really think it's the Green Bay Packers, because this wasn't like, well, you played Carolina at home, and then the second week at home, you got New Orleans. Ooh, Green Bay looks good. No, you took on Detroit, which is supposed to be one of the better teams in the NFC. You just took on the Washington Commanders. Correct me if I'm wrong. They went to the NFC Championship game last year, and a lot of high expectations this year. You beat 2 formidable opponents to open the season, which brings me to Jordan Love. He doesn't seem to get a lot of credit, because why? You don't get that credit till you win on the biggest platform in the NFL. Goes to the playoffs last year, does get beat. Now, he did have a win in the playoffs against the Dallas Cowboys a few years back. Ultra efficient, though, Joe. 19 of 31, 292 in the air, 2 touchdown passes, no interceptions, a 113.9 passer rating, and the running game was in gear. They carried 30 times for 135 yards, which is 4.5 yards per carry, and a touchdown as a team. Tucker Kraft was amazing as a tight end. 57-yard catch there, really buoyed his 124 yards. But this seems like it's the old West Coast offense team, where so many different ways you can get beat as long as that quarterback is the maestro and setting up that orchestra. And last night, it was Jordan Love.
Well, not only was it Jordan Love, but shout out to the tight ends because they were open. I mean, Kraft was open the entire game. And you know what? They kept finding him. No problems. They kept going to him because Washington didn't have any linebackers. They did a great job of bottling up the running game, right? So they did a really good job on Green Bay's running game. Those were hard-earned runs. He didn't even get to 100 yards, but they were hard. They kept trying. But the tight ends, they had nobody that would cover the tight ends. They basically schemed them open all game, and Kraft absolutely destroyed that Washington secondary, got behind the linebackers, and then that was it, man. It was off to the races.
Yeah, you talked a lot about Matt LaFleur yesterday. It's a good coach, man. Good game plan. Worked perfectly here. The Green Bay Packers 2-0. But if we're looking forward, there were some big injuries last night, and maybe none bigger in that game than Austin Eckler. Now, you're 1-1 as the Commanders. The season isn't over, but that was your veteran in the running back room. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, young player here. Who's else going to step up behind him? You're going to have to hit that waiver wire to find somebody, but to lose one of your better players in week number 2, that's going to be a tough recovery. And on the opposite side, you had Reed break his collarbone for the Green Bay Packers. A little bit easier for them because they have a lot of really good players at wide receiver. You don't have that many good running backs on Washington right now.
Yeah, no, not good. Injuries are just brutal right now for Washington. They already lost their star blocking tight end, John Bates. Another receiver, Noah Brown, got a groin injury. All of a sudden, 4 starters gone for Washington in 2 games.
Players' meetings in the NFL after week number 1. It means you are not going to be good, people.
New to social casinos? You're in for a treat. Most online casinos offer bonus cash or coins just for signing up. That's your own little participation trophy. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Remember these names: AZ Fudd, Olivia Miles, Lauren Betts. Depending on who wins that lottery, that's going to depend on who goes what. If Washington wins, it's Fudd. She's from the area. If Dallas wins, they're going to bring Fudd to play with, obviously, Paige. If Minnesota wins, I think they go Miles with the point. If Seattle wins, they go with Miles, and the same thing with Chicago.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
If a game is on the line,
give me the Navy kicker.
Oh,
the guy's going into battle in 2 weeks. He can't make an extra point. Come on.
From a mindset perspective, I'm not. Listen, we thank them for their service. I love them. Okay.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, if you have a bet and you have an academy kicker with a field goal or an extra point, you got to hold your breath.
27 yards. You know,
27 yards. The kid shanked it from like 30.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Oh, the NFL sometimes is not a reality that the common man lives in, and rightfully so. They make millions of dollars to play a kid's game, and we cheer them on a Sunday afternoon. But understand this, Donnie Rightside here, Joe Ranieri, we always like to say, wonder what's going on with that team. And no surprise, it's like, oh, you know what? The Dolphins had a players-only meeting. That's surprising. Boy, the expectations were really high for the season. When did they have that meeting? Week 13 on a playoff push to say, guys, now's the time that we take control of the AFC East and win this thing? No. In the offseason, we basically talked on a day-to-day basis. As soon as you heard the word Dolphins, it's like, this isn't going to work this year. This looks like it's headed for a disaster. They went on the road against a team in the Colts that nobody really outside of, Indianapolis had super expectations for. They made the Colts look like there's a chance they can make it to the Super Bowl of how dominant they were against the Miami Dolphins. So the Dolphins called a team meeting. Joe Ranieri, I'm going to ask you this question. The heck was that team meeting even about?
Well, it was, I think they're making plans to figure out where they're going to go
to Joe's?
as soon as the season's over. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're already making vacation plans because the season, it's pretty much already over. So there's no point in kidding yourself right now in Miami. And listen, we knew it. The stories coming out of Miami all throughout training camp have been hilarious, Donnie. I know some of the local beat reporters that cover this team, and the stuff that they were telling me is just a total lack. And it starts right from the top. Starts with the general manager, Greer, who's a hot mess. Yep. It goes down to the coach, McDaniel. There is zero leadership in that locker room. Tua is not exactly a leader among men in that locker room. And, by the way, doesn't necessarily have the support of everybody in there. A lot of finger pointing. Before they played Indy, we're talking about a training camp. It was a hot mess here. So it's going to go from bad to worse. Couple the fact that we all knew you had to win in Miami, right? Otherwise, there's regime change coming. There's a whole lot of things coming. So you add that pressure, and you have a coach that, come on. He's no Bill Parcells. He's not even Bill Parcells' Gardner. Like, you got to be kidding me here. He's already lost the team. It's a fade from here on out for the Miami Dolphins for me, and just about anything to do with Tyreek Hill, I'll be looking to go against as the season moves along.
It should have been a scenario that worked out. The nerdy coach goes down the South Beach. Now he's wearing Rolexes and a lot of, entertainment, and it looks like he turned into Don Johnson. He's got a high-flying offense here, perfect for Miami. And this is what we're getting out of it. A complete rebuild on deck for the Miami Dolphins, which is absolutely ridiculous. But, you're meeting after game number 1 against the Colts, who smoked you. Let me understand this. You're probably going to get beat this week again. It's a bad football team. Let's just say the New England Patriots. Let's have another meeting. And sooner than later, the owner calls the meeting, and everybody gets their pink slip at that point. We'll watch what happens with the Dolphins over the next couple weeks here. But you know what knock's going to happen in the NFL? Lamar Jackson, he's not going to get fined or suspended, and he shouldn't there. When you score a touchdown and run around the side of the stadium, fans aren't supposed to smack you and your teammates in the head without retribution. Good on Lamar Jackson for fighting back, and he's not getting fined.
Well, and good for the NFL for looking at this and saying, listen, fans, we all know, any adult in the room understands that, listen, if I put my hands on a player, there is a good chance that player is going to put his hands back on me. And to expect anything different is crazy. And to penalize Lamar and send a message that, so when fans get unruly and smack you, you're supposed to sit there and do absolutely not. So kudos to the NFL for actually doing the right thing in this spot.
Yeah, but if we're hosts on a show and we get smacked in the head, there's not really too much we can do as hosts. You know what I mean? We're in our 40s, 50s, 60s, whoever's out there. Okay.
Until the break.
Yeah, you don't want to smack NFL football players. That usually doesn't work out in the actual fans' perspective here. You know what else doesn't work out in your perspective? Derrick Henry, who is probably going to run wild because they lost week number 1, telling him, man, you're easy to tackle. Take a look at this little clip from Delpit here. Come on now, stop. Maybe we don't have it.
Not hard.
Graham, we going back though, we saw it last year. You obviously were afraid in that first matchup to take him on.
Yeah.
So where does that come from? Is that a mindset?
We playing football, man. It's tackle football. Somebody got the ball, you got to bring them down.
Joe, not hard to tackle Derrick Henry. News to me.
Well, in theory, it's not hard to tackle. So maybe that, I'll give them that. Maybe what he's saying is, you know what? We're football players. You see the guy at the ball, you tackle him. Yeah, very great in theory. And then you have the train that is Derrick Henry. Good luck.
Yeah, let's talk Browns Ravens next. Let's see how hard it is to tackle Derrick Henry. Yeah.
Remember these names: AZ Fudd, Olivia Miles, Lauren Betts. Depending on who wins that lottery, that's going to depend on who goes what. If Washington wins, it's Fudd. She's from the area. If Dallas wins, they're going to bring Fudd to play with, obviously, Paige. If Minnesota wins, I think they go Miles with the point. If Seattle wins, they go with Miles, and the same thing with Chicago.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
So game one, I already made a mistake. I put my touchdown prop bets in hours ago. When you and I started talking before kickoff, I got so excited and I bet him again without even thinking that I already did it.
I
was like, Jalen Hurts. I was like, and then I was like, wait, I think I already did this. And I scrolled down. I was like, yeah, you already did do this. And I was like, oh, that's okay. That's okay.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
I give them no excuses for the mistakes that Lamar and that team made when they played Buffalo in the playoffs last year. But I do think they've done enough to improve the team in the offseason. I think the offense was way better. The defensive line and the offensive line played really well in the back half of the year last year. Almost all of that talent is back. And I think the Ravens are going to be right there.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
To your point, Greg, if anybody else is able to make a dent, it'll have to happen now. ESPN has had about 3% market share. Their goal is to get to 10% by next year. So if they can't make a big push this year and really see a lot of the new features that they put on their apps, a lot of the integrations with ESPN fantasy products, with ESPN, flagship products across the board, if those don't pay off soon this football season, it might be curtains for them.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Tackling Derrick Henry. Yes, it is hard. Otherwise, everybody would be in the NFL, and everybody could be Derrick Henry, or everybody could be a defensive back to bring him down. Looked like the Buffalo Bills were struggling bringing Derrick Henry down. But the question this weekend is going to be, will the Cleveland Browns be able to bring him down, but also be able to stay inside the spread and or win in this AFC battle? Cleveland and Baltimore. Both teams 0-1 right now. 255, 256 on the rotation. A 1 o'clock game on Sunday, which opened, Joe, at a 12.5-point spread. It's actually down to 11.5 at some outlets, but still BetMGM sitting at a 12.5. Answer me this question. You're not as good as what you are in week number 1. You're not as bad as what you are in week number 1. Cleveland should have won that game against the Bengals. Baltimore should have won that game against the Bills. They both didn't here. Are we overreacting where we're saying like Baltimore should have beat a good Bills team? They should just wipe out Cleveland. But I didn't see anything from Cleveland that showed they're going to roll over and just play dead in this football game like the odds makers are saying.
This whole game in week 2 is like 6 degrees of separation when you think about it, Donnie. Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Aren't the Ravens the Browns? Or what they used to beat the Browns, true. And that's right. Yes, the midnight. We're out of here. Art Modell to Baltimore, and then all of a sudden the Browns get back, and just like this, you've got the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, who is, if I'm not mistaken, Donnie, in Baltimore history, he is the the all-time leader in passing yards for that organization. He's now playing for the Browns, who used to be with the Ravens and won you go down the list of how ridiculously intertwined these two teams are, and you're right. Here we go. Flacco, the MVP of a Super Bowl that the Ravens won, is now tasked with not only trying to win this game, but trying to go in and do something that nobody thinks he can do. I didn't think he was going to play as well as he did against Cincinnati. Can he repeat that with Baltimore, against Baltimore? I think a lot of things have to happen well for Cleveland to even stay within this number. And to me, it all starts on the defensive side. Can the defense of the Browns keep this game within one score heading into the fourth quarter? If they can, I give them a good shot. If they can't, the game's over before you get to the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I'm also interested to see, we like the way, the offense for Baltimore looked last week. The defense was the most surprising thing. They just couldn't get any stops in the fourth quarter. Now, granted, you had a miracle comeback, and you got to get bad breaks for that to happen, and it did. But you're probably looking for an angry Baltimore team. But also, Cleveland wasn't that bad opening day, and they should have won if they just brought a kicker into the 2025 season. That's the way it goes. We'll find that game out at 1 o'clock. Another 1 o'clock game, the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys. We saw the Dallas Cowboys on opening night take on the Philadelphia Eagles. Close game, a lot of key drops by CeeDee Lamb, which he promised would not happen again. But now the questions come up with the Giants. Hey, feel-good team in the preseason. They got smoked by Washington, who then got smoked by Green Bay. So I don't know how much stock you can put in. Oh, we sort of hung around and lost by double digits against Washington. Now you take on Dallas. That line, though, Joe, opened up at 3. It's on the move. Some outlets are as high as 5.5 today for the Dallas Cowboys.
So I think there's only one bet to make in this game, Donnie, and I think it should be a bet among friends, okay? What do you think the chances are? And it's yes or no, right? Will the backup quarterback for the Giants play in this game at some particular point? Will Russell Wilson finish this game? Or does the new era for Giants football start in this game? And I tend to think we're going to see a different quarterback under center for the Giants in the second half.
You know, it's funny you say that, too, because, even the best laid plans get interrupted at times. You weren't happy week number 1 with Russell Wilson and that offense not finding pay dirt. And sometimes that hook doesn't come quick. If you are, let's just say the Giants, if you score a touchdown in the first half, it probably starts to quell that. But you're 14-3 half. Like, you're already like, all right, my job is on the line as a head coach. The GM's getting pressured here. We look terrible. What's the worst thing that can happen? We put in Jackson Dart, and he throws a couple interceptions and go, wow, it's worth a try. Or he actually leads you into a competitive game in the second half. I think Joe's on to something there. Watch that first half and see how it turns out, because maybe a change does come by the second half. 259, 260 on the rotation. The Tennessee Titans are home, and Cam Ward's going to make his home debut. Who are they going up against? The Los Angeles Rams and Matthew Stafford with a Week 1 victory over the Texans. Low spread in this game, Joe. 44.5 at the opening number, now down to 41.5 across the board. Road favorite for the Rams at 5.5. Are we catching lightning in a bottle with Tennessee, or is this going to be just another impressive defensive performance by the Rams where they pull out that victory, but enough to cover the 5.5 point spread?
Well, kudos to Stafford for proving all the doubters wrong against Houston at home, right? He looked healthy. He was the reason why offensively they were able to not only win that game, but close it out and not give the Texans a chance to get back into it. But Cam Ward, I mean, could you have had a tougher place to go play your first NFL game in Denver on the road against that defense? And you know what, Donnie? I covered that game on In Game Live. He had receivers dropping passes that were hitting him in the hands. I mean, he was under duress, but you know what? Didn't turn the ball over, looked the part. And I don't know, next week the Rams have a pretty interesting game, revenge game against your Eagles. Could there be a little look ahead here in this spot? It could be. Titans at home are an interesting dog this weekend.
By the way, I liked what Cam Ward said at his press conference this week, too. It's like, hey, man, do you get mad when your wide receivers drop balls? He's like, no, I'm going to throw interceptions. They're going to get pissed at me for that, too. It's just a game of football. We'll get it together. So, like the young kid there, the maturity that he has, maybe sneaky at home as a dog this weekend. We'll check that out. The Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets, a battle in the AFC East. Josh Allen and Justin Fields, favorite here. Opened up at 7.5, Joe. Jets taking on some money, down to 6.5 and 6s now at some outlets, and a total on the rise. 44.5, now up to 46.5. Buffalo with that exciting victory, and I guess a moral victory for the Jets because they played well but just made some mistakes, and they look like they're going to be competitive. How does this play out in the Meadowlands this weekend, Joe?
Well, I think we're going to learn whether or not Justin Fields actually has turned that corner. Has he made that leap finally, Donnie? Have they figured him out? Has this coaching staff actually put him now in a spot where he can grow and become a starting quarterback in the NFL? Because if he can't take advantage of that banged-up Bills secondary, then the answer is no, it's still Justin Fields, and we're just playing out the string here. But I think this is a huge game for Justin Fields and the Jets. I don't know that they win it, but the idea that Buffalo won't maybe exhale a little bit after that ridiculous win against Baltimore, I would take the points here.
I'm telling you, this weekend is so tough when we look at these games, and this next one just might be the toughest. We just talked about and laughed at the Miami Dolphins having a team meeting here. New England Patriots are coming to town. They're not world beaters by any stretch. They lost at home to the Vegas Raiders. But the Miami Dolphins opened up as 2.5-point favorites here, Joe. It's now down to 1.5 at some outlets and a 43.5. Sometimes in the NFL, you look at games and say, well, they're just not that good of a football team. I honestly think if the Dolphins lose this game, major changes to the roster and coaching staff could be on the way. How do you approach a game like this knowing, Joe, it's not a regular season game in the fact that, oh, they're just going to play and see what happens. It feels like that powder keg is ready to explode. How do you cap the Dolphins and the Patriots?
Well, it's funny, too. Remember how many people we heard over the summer, Don? Oh, Patriots, win total, over. This team is going to be amazing.
True.
They are,
True.
yeah, dark. No, stop it. They're not a dark horse. They're a mess. But what Miami is also at home in September is a great bet, especially we just watched the Patriots watch Geno Smith complete 4 of 6 throws for over 20 yards. What do you think Tyreek Hill and Tua in the second half in 90 degrees is going to do against this Patriots secondary? Miami wins this game. They'll probably win it easily because that's how they roll. They either blow you out or they look absolutely awful in a loss.
Yeah, and this is why I love talking about these games in week number 2. Like, you see what Ranieri is saying? We might come back here on Monday and be like, I can't even believe I took the Miami Dolphins, like 33-6. New England blew them out. This season is over. Or the exact opposite. Like, yeah, what was this? All this hype for the New England Patriots and a Vrabel defense that got shredded by a Miami team that didn't even have a pulse in week number 1. This is so good to talk about. And again, we're going to get to New Orleans next. How about this one? Who's even playing for the 49ers at this point? We got it all covered, people.
Remember these names: AZ Fudd, Olivia Miles, Lauren Betts. Depending on who wins that lottery, that's going to depend on who goes what. If Washington wins, it's Fudd. She's from the area. If Dallas wins, they're going to bring Fudd to play with obviously Paige. If Minnesota wins, I think they go Miles with the point. If Seattle wins, they go with Miles, and the same thing with Chicago.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
So game 1, I already made a mistake. I put my touchdown prop bets in hours ago. When you and I started talking before kickoff, I got so excited and I bet him again without even thinking that I already did it.
Oh, I
was like, oh, yeah, Jalen Hurts. Oh, yeah. I was like, and then I was like, wait, I think I already did this. And I scrolled down. I was like, yeah, you already did do this. And I was like, oh, that's okay. That's okay.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
I'd give them no excuses for the mistakes that Lamar and that team made when they played Buffalo in the playoffs last year. But I do think they've done enough to improve the team in the offseason. I think the offense was way better. The defensive line and the offensive line played really well in the back half of the year last year. Almost all of that talent is back. And I think the Ravens are going to be right there.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
To your point, Craig, if anybody else is able to make a dent, it'll have to happen now. ESPN has had about 3% market share. Their goal is to get to 10% by next year. So if they can't make a big push this year and really see a lot of the new features that they put on their apps, a lot of the integrations with ESPN fantasy products, with ESPN, flagship products across the board, if those don't pay off soon this football season, it might be curtains for them.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Oh, yeah, it's a Friday. It's a Football Friday right here on the SportsGrid Network, and we are rolling along. It's Donnie Rightside. It's Joe Ranieri, and we welcome in Tom Vecchio to the program this morning. So many interesting spots to take a look at this weekend, Tom. And week number 2, always devious, always tough to get down with. How are we feeling about this week's card? Yeah. No.
One. completely dismiss those things that we saw in week one. Like, we have to take them with a grain of salt. We have to mix them into our normal handicapping process. And there are a ton of great games on this week's slate.
No, there certainly is. By the way, just taking a look at that game last night, just to wrap that up. Joe and I have been talking about it so far all morning long. Like, sometimes you don't know which teams you're going to get from weeks 1 to week 2. And I got to tell you, those are two very impressive victories off the bat for the Green Bay Packers, Tom. Coming into the season, does your mindset change on them, or is that about what you expected? Because they were dominant in both of those games on the scoreboard.
Yeah, as we talked about last night, like I was optimistic about the Packers defense, and I was only going to be more optimistic because if Parsons was going to play on a higher percentage of the snaps in week 2 compared to what he did in week 1, like, their defense is only going to get better at a certain point once they get everything in the rhythm. So I think the Packers are legit, and I wouldn't be betting their number at this point. Like, if you have them pre-flop from, before Parsons and before the trade, that's a great number to have. I wouldn't be betting into them right now because you already missed the boat, but they are awesome.
All right, so week 2, overreactions continue. You nailed a great prop last night there, Tom, and we got a lot of different spots. I think we can either look to fade some teams and some players or look to maybe think they're a little undervalued. What did you circle this weekend for us?
Let's jump into a TD prop, and let's go to DK Metcalf. And, I always like buying into players that have high usage rates. He is going up against his former team, which, is never a bad thing. It's a team that didn't want to extend him, that was willing to trade him and get back some draft picks. So I like the fact that he's going up against his former team. But in reality, DK is the number one option in the Steelers' passing offense. The game doesn't have a super high total. We didn't see DK with any red zone targets last week, but that's just because they didn't happen to have them. But still, a 25 or 24% target share for DK is something that I love. So his TD prop at plus 160, love it this week.
Let's go to some more wide receivers, Tommy. Let's head down to Tennessee. Cam Ward's going to get his first start at home in front of the Titans faithful, but the Rams are coming in 1-0 here, and Devontae Adams is in town with Puka Nacua.
Yeah, really liked Devontae, and I like what I saw from him last week. When we see 4 catches and 51 yards, you're like, okay, it's like it is what it is. He had 8 targets last week, but he was shadowed by Derek Stingley Jr. on the Texans last week. So if you told me he had 8 targets in an extremely tough matchup, he still came away with 4 of them, and he had 50 yards. Like, if you tell me he had 6 catches last week against a different quarter, he would have gotten over 58 yards. So again, I'm buying into the usage. That is really strong, and this is going to be a terrible, terrible Titans secondary. So when we ever can get a low number on it, I will buy into a player like Devontae or another wide receiver that has this high of usage that somewhat underperformed last week just due to the defensive matchup. He's going to explode this week. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets in the end zone, but you give me 58 yards, I'll take it.
I like it.
So they are saying, Tom, that this weekend we might get maybe the most watched NFL game outside of the Super Bowl in a long, maybe ever. And that, of course, is a repeat of the Super Bowl as Philadelphia is taking on Kansas City. What are you thinking here?
So big news, obviously, is that Jalen Carter is going to play. They are ruling his week 1 ejection as the suspension because it happened before any plays took place officially. So, we look back to last week against the Cowboys. Miles Sanders broke off that one long run, which was 49 yards. Outside of that, he had 3 other carries for 4 or 5 total yards. I forget what it was. When we look to Javonte Williams had 15 carries for just over 50 yards. He was averaging under 4 yards per carry, which is terrible. So the Eagles defense, which didn't have Jalen Carter, was actually really solid against the run last week. And now he's coming back. Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, at the end of the day, these are fine running backs. I do think Pacheco is a good running back, but giving the ball to him 20-plus times is just not the game script for the Chiefs. So what does that mean? Who you want to go down swinging with the guy that you trusted, and that's Patrick Mahomes. So despite the fact that we have this worthy news, we're not sure if he's going to play with his collarbone, his back, his shoulder, whatever it is, just give the ball to Patrick Mahomes. So when we look at a high volume of passing attempts, that's what we should be seeing from Mahomes. Doesn't matter who he's throwing to because I don't know who it's going to be, but we're not going to be seeing them run the ball. So Mahomes over passing attempts is what I like the most this week.
It is a big game. It's a 425. Let me ask you on the opposite side, because I always love the back and forth, right, of week 1 to week number 2, but also the most crazy position you can have are superstar wide receivers that don't get the football. Now, they'll be happy as long as you win. You know where I'm going. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, insignificant in week number 1 against the Cowboys. They're saying all the right things like, yeah, we won and it's okay. Are we force-feeding the football? And also understand this, Dallas Goedert might not play in this game. He had a heavy target share in game number 1. How do you feel about the Eagles wide receivers? And more importantly, Tom, how do you play them?
I would play either of them if they're both at plus money to have a catch on the first drive. You know, we do have to realize that Philly does have a new offensive coordinator this year. So, you know, weird game, the delay on opening night. So I'm not worried about them. They are obviously super talented. You know, A.J. Brown is on my most important dynasty team, so I want to see him do amazing. But I would play them both to have a catch on the first drive. And as long as they're both at plus money, them will come through, get the ball to them. Goddard being out is only a boost for them overall. You know, Saquon doesn't play the largest role in the passing game, but then Dotson's not going to have that big of a role. Maybe Grant Calcaterra steps in to the pass catching role that we saw from Goddard, but I don't expect it to be a massive letdown at all. I'm not worried about one game.
Yeah, no, it's not a big deal at this point on that, but I do like to see, like, wide receivers like to get the football, and that's the way it is. But, Tom, it's September. We love football. We really do. Yeah. But Major League Baseball tonight, full slate. Any ideas quickly that you can give the people out there on a spot that you might be looking at tonight?
I haven't looked at the slate, but I will tell you the Brewers let me down over the past 2 days when they were at the Rangers earlier
They're
this week.
going to hit tonight, Tom.
They're 100% going to win. I'm already on their money line. It is minus 180. It's a lot of juice, but they are significantly better than the Cardinals. They bounce back, and they take this series at least 2 out of 3.
I got to tell you, Tom is pretty sharp there. Palante's on the mound, and Milwaukee lines up really good. Churio's back in that offense. You got a healthy, Christian Yelich back in that fold there. They should hit. They should win tonight, and it's certainly a good look. And, of course, my Philadelphia Phillies out there rolling those New York Mets in 11-game lead up. I can't be more happy than that. But you know what makes me happy? When Tom Vecchio joins us on the early line on a Football Friday, people. It doesn't get any better than that. Thanks, Tom, for joining us. For Donnie Rightside, Joe Ranieri. We'll continue the fun next right here on the early line.
Vegas knows how to celebrate. If you're headed to Vegas for your birthday, plan ahead to get all the birthday freebies the city has to offer. Just by showing your ID, you could get free cash play, scratch cards, drinks, and food at various venues on the Strip. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
College football can't allow Notre Dame to have the type of, year they have and schedule they have, and honestly put them up against other teams. Because Notre Dame looks like they're going to be a decent football team. They could lose, I think, next week to Texas A&M, Joe. Right. I don't think it's a great football team, but still a ranked team. And then run the table and still be in the playoff and absolutely beat nobody. The worst schedule they've ever seen in college football is Notre Dame this year.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Quarterback or coach has to answer for it. Right. Goff, Campbell. Listen, I'm not firing Dan Campbell already. I might be shipping Goff. I don't know, but I think the Lions. Again, it's week 1. Are we overreacting? I think the panic meter in Detroit is blaring. I think people are wondering when do the Pistons start.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
Sleepless in Seattle, Joe Ranieri. Have you ever heard of that movie title? Well, if you are betting Mariners games on the East Coast, you are sleepless on the East Coast as well. 13 innings the night before, a Mariners victory. 12 innings last night, another Mariners victory, 7-6 over the Los Angeles Angels. And how about this? Everybody wakes up today in a first-place tie in the AL West between the Astros and the Mariners. The comeback kids got it done again last night in extras.
And listen, they're getting, they're getting production from up and down a lineup and some new guys too. I mean, this kid Harry Ford has been a much talked about rookie that, they love this kid. This kid is the future of this organization. And, well, he came up in a big spot and ended up getting it done, driving it in. And now you got to wonder. I mean, Seattle is worrying me, Donnie, like Toronto worries me. They're great at home, but when they go on the road and they travel, it appears to be we're getting a different Seattle team. So I'd like to see a little more stability out of Seattle, especially on the road, but they are in it to win it at this point.
I was on Game Time Decisions last night with Kevin Walsh and says, what do you think about that Major League Baseball card last night? I said, if you're a Yankee fan, calm down. They're going to hit last night, and they did. A 9-3 victory over the Detroit Tigers, which also had Trump in the building last night. Yeah. We got a quick clip here of Volpe and Trump. How about that?
Good? How are you? Nice to see you.
Now, see, I can't hear that. What actually happened there, Joe? Can you explain to me did he not know who he was, or what was he talking about?
I think he said, you suck. And what are you batting, 112? If I could be wrong, Donnie, but I think basically it was something along those lines. Or it might have been something about golf. I'm not sure.
Volpe in the house, little golf game at that point. You know what? By the way, if you ask probably Trump that you want to golf, he probably makes it happen. Like, I'm sure Saquon Barkley just say, call up the White House, let's golf. And just say, you know what? I think I can golf well. Oh, let's see if we can put that to the test and go away with it. Well, maybe it was a good luck charm because the Yankees actually won a game yesterday in the Bronx, handled it easily. And by the way, Cam Schlittler last night, 6 innings pitched, 1 earned run. The bullpen actually did give up 2 earned runs, but it was Yarbrough just filling in a blowout game because the Yankees, they had 9 runs, Joe, by the 4th inning.
Yeah, no, it was over early, as they say, right? In that game. And, fitting. Remembering 9/11 and being able to be at Yankee Stadium, president there, and the Yankees actually show up and deliver a win for the fans. It was a good time. And, anytime you're mentioned with the name Joe DiMaggio, it's pretty amazing when you think about it.
Yes, it is. We'll see where the Yankees go from here, but last night probably solidified that AL MVP for Aaron Judge as his number continues to rise. We were waiting for a couple of these nights, and you got one last night. I'll tell you what else you got last night. Another New York Mets loss to the Philadelphia Phillies. What is the deal? The Phillies go to Citi Field, get swept, and look terrible. The Mets then return the favor and go to Philadelphia and get swept in a 4-game series themselves. But if you watched last night, you just saw that final score, like, 6-4. It's what happens. The Phillies are just a better team. This was 4-0 before the Phillies even got to the plate. The Phillies fought back in that game, eventually taking the lead in the 6th inning. But the story isn't just that the Mets lost that game. Joe, they had 4 runs on the board in the 1st inning. They did not have a player reach base in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, or 9th innings. How does that work?
Yeah, not good. I mean, and, Luzardo, I think it was 22 straight. He retired after a pretty rough first inning there, right? He gave up 4 runs in a game, and you're going, well, so much for the Mets not figuring out how to beat lefties on this team. Nope, no, yeah. that was it. That's all they had. They emptied the tank, Donnie, in the 1st inning, and then after that, Luzardo settles down and retires 22 straight Mets. That is just crazy. We started the week in this series, Donnie, talking about the magic number 11 for the Phillies and the Mets there to lock up the National League East. And after a 4-game series, what are we down to? What's the magic number now?
5. That's hard to do.
Wow.
That's hard. That's really hard to do at that point. But credit the Phillies, who, again, entered this series placing guys on the IL. and actually got better at it. Like Harrison Bader's hit like 350 since coming over from that trade, which is absolutely astounding at that point. Some other scores in Major League Baseball. Yeah, I woke up and the Padres only scored 2 runs, Joe. I needed 3. Shame on me at that point. The Guardians knocked off the Royals here. The Marlins 5-0 over the Nationals. The Blue Jays 6-0 over the Astros, who again, Astros and the Mariners are tied now in the standings. Crazy times. This is what we do on the early line. Hour number 2 is up next. Don't you go anywhere.